Celebrating 4 years of talk like you've never heard it before, this is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network.
Jack Bishop of GabNet's The Intersect, Tuesdays through Fridays at midnight Eastern Time. It's everything from what's going on with the new royal couple to what's happening with that grumpy old man in the Oval Office. Movies, music, old TV shows, you name it. From thoughtful discussions to out-and-out fights like my grandma would referee between my uncles. So from mild to wild, join me, Jack Bishop, Tuesdays to Fridays at midnight for The Intersection on GabNet Live. It's talk like you never heard it.
We're GabNet, and we've got you covered live 5 nights a week. First Tuesday through Friday at 9:30 Eastern, it's The Exchange.
Let's capture, I mean, who are all these people who are watching these cooking shows? And they're stoners, right? So I'm wondering, is this a program that Netflix has absorbed? I don't know, what is the purpose of Netflix making a 14-minute show? Now, aside from those 2 interesting facts about this show, the show is fucking terrible. Do not watch this show. It fucking sucks.
Tuesday through Friday at 10 Eastern, join Alex Bennett on the Ramble.
Say goodbye to the unions.
Renee, what was the decision? And then we'll go to Patrick.
It doesn't matter. Just say goodbye to the unions.
No. But I'm not asking you that. I'm asking you what was in the decision yesterday.
I'm going to look it up.
Okay, let him look it up.
Yeah, he'll go look it up at glennbeck.com.
Tuesday through Friday at midnight, The Intersection.
Most high school boys, what have we got on our mind? Sex and girls and girls and sex and sex and sex.
And booze and drugs.
Yeah, the Asian guys I knew in high school, I'm sure they thought that way, but perhaps they were more disciplined about it. Although there was this Japanese girl in high school that your old friend, the Black Avenger, had the hots for. Oh, my God. Be still my sake wanting to drink self.
If you like sports, we've got that too, with The Arena, Wednesday nights at 8:30 p.m. Eastern.
Well, and even if you did that, it doesn't give you the right to grab your Uber driver's private. I mean, and like, what part of that to him sounded like a good idea?
Oh, she played a special song.
Finally, you can get hot and bothered on Connections at 10 p.m. Eastern Monday, and by delay Tuesday through Friday at 1 a.m. Eastern.
Now, of course, you got your Bundy barbecue. We did that here. It's gonna be cool. So we have a few of them out of the state of Florida, right? We got Danny Rawlings.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, so we can look at that. That'll be fun. So, okay, I don't want to shoot the whole wad right there. No.
I'm sure Dahmer will come up somewhere.
Dahmer! Oh, yeah. He was fun. A looker, too.
Catch up on all the shows with our weekend flashback. All shows have the Citizen Panel, an exclusive concept of GabNet. It's new. It's daring. It's talk like you've never heard it before. Celebrating 4 years of talk like you've never heard it before. This is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network.
Hey everybody, it's Alex Bennett and we're here with the Ramble. We go until midnight Eastern Daylight Time on the eastern seaboard of the United States of America, coming to you from New York City. And in about 25 minutes from right now, we're going to be talking with our citizens panel, and there's a lot to talk about. Lots happened over the weekend. You know what? Yes, Mr. Crazy has gotten even crazier. And we'll get to that and our citizens panel. But first, I think that it would be a good idea if we went and talked to our old friend. We love talking to this guy. Hello, everybody. It's time now to go out to the other coast of the United States, to San Francisco, and the wonderful dulcet tones of, and the musical stylings of, Larry Bubbles Brown. Hello, Larry.
Hello, Alex. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, that was, of course, the name of one of the worst television shows in history.
Hello, Larry.
Yeah, you remember?
And who was in that?
McLean Stevenson.
Right. Who was actually, he was a very funny guy.
Yeah.
And he
made a big mistake.
He left MASH early.
Yeah.
Was it for Hello, Larry?
Yes. I mean, he left because he figured he could have more of a career than just MASH.
Right.
And so he gave up what was the biggest hit show in television to go start another show called Hello, Larry, which lasted, 13 weeks, maybe?
If that.
And is considered one of the most colossal failures in history. And I think after that, McLean Stevenson didn't have much of a career.
He was pretty much done. I was thinking the other person, that Shelley Long left Cheers and was pretty much done after that.
Yep. So, I mean, a lot of people...
So we're not the only ones that have made bad decisions, is what we're saying.
We revel in other people's bad decisions because it makes us seem fine. Here's the thing. It was I'm trying to think of other people who've done this. What happens is they get a hit TV show and they think that is their ticket to stardom. And when you think of how many of those people who were in hit TV shows went on to a larger career, you could count them on your one hand, I can think of a few. Bruce Willis went on to a good movie career after Moonlighting, I think it was called. Yeah.
Yeah, that was late 80s. That was huge, and he left that. But he survived.
George Clooney left
ER?
ER and had a very successful career. But there are a lot of other people who just leave their series and think, I got it made now. And people...
Yeah, I think in this business, if you got something that's working, you better ride it into the ground.
Mm-hmm. Well, you don't leave it immediately, What was his name? The guy was on The Office. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, Steve Carell?
Steve Carell did not leave The Office, but went on and made his movie career before he left The Office.
Yeah, hedge your bet.
Exactly. In other words, get that movie career going before you quit your day job.
Mm-hmm.
But no, McLean Stevenson, biggest mistake in the history of television, I think.
And I think I saw Larry Gelbart. They were pissed that he left the show. That's why when they wrote, remember the last episode, he was killed off.
They did kill him off, didn't they?
Yeah, he was died in a plane crash that was leaving the MASH thing, and I was young when I was watching that. I'd never seen anyone killed off in a sitcom, so I remember it really shocked me.
They were that mad that he left, huh?
Yeah, they were really pissed off.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Larry Gelbart said, and McLean Stevenson died fairly young. He said he left too soon, and then he left too soon.
Well, what's his name? Goodman left Roseanne, and they killed him off. And then when they had the reboot, they had to have an excuse of why he was still alive. And they made some passing remark on the show like, I thought you were dead. And he said, that's just a rumor. And then they just dismissed it that way and then went on with the show, which then, of course, got canceled. Oddly enough, the most successful show ever to get canceled.
I guess it is, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of another. Yeah, I can think of shows that were successful that then ran their course and then were canceled. But I can't think of a show that in the middle of its success was canceled. There may be one, but I can't name it.
That's a great trivia question. Yeah, what...
And now, the funny part is, Roseanne, after that whole deal, there are people chasing her to do a series.
Well, sure, you would make money off her. Why not?
That's what the story of Hollywood is.
Yeah.
Money talks and nobody walks. But
I asked Dennis Miller a few years ago, "Are you because you become so conservative? Is that costing you work?" And he said, "In this business, if they can make money off you, you're going to work."
Yeah, the thing is, they couldn't make money off of him, so that's why he hasn't had a career. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You can be anything you want to be, and I think, we were talking about Bruce Willis. He's always been a right winger.
Yeah, he's pretty conservative.
Yeah, and yet it's never hurt his career. Because you know what it is? It's how easy you are to work with. If you're easy to work with and people like you, in spite of your politics, in spite of anything you might do, they'll go to bat for you. I mean, that's why Harvey Weinstein was left out to dry.
Yeah,
because
he's a monster.
Because he was a monster and people hated him. And nobody could be happier that this guy went down for the count, and so there was nobody there to catch him when he fell.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and the same like Wiener, Anthony Weiner here in New York. There was nobody there to catch him because nobody liked him.
Right.
But if they liked him, there'd be somebody there to catch him. They'd make some kind of an excuse. They'd let him go away, do his penance, and come back. And the other,
I love the Coen Brothers movies. I really like them, and I noticed they use a lot of the same character actors in their films. I thought they're probably easy to work with.
Well, I mean, John Goodman. Number one, he's not bad in anything he does.
He's great in anything he does.
He can take a picture that absolutely sucks and be the only good thing about it. Okay, but. He was always known as a reliable performer. If you hired him, you knew he would show up and do the job. Same thing was probably true of, who's the guy's the voice of a lot of stuff? The black actor. Oh, boy.
Oh, voice.
Yeah.
I know who you mean.
Yeah. Our brains are fried at our age.
Names are the first thing you forget.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
I mean, I know this guy's name. I told you about what happened at my doctor's office, didn't I? Or didn't I?
Well, we've had so many doctor stories.
Well, I've been having this numbness in my feet, so I decided I better go to a neurologist. So the neurologist, as part of his workup on me, asked me some questions. And he asked me, who's the president of the United States? And I said, Donald Trump. And he said, okay, who's the governor of New York? You could have heard crickets. I went, oh, yeah, I should know this. I do a talk show. I just told him I was a talk show host, and I don't know who the governor of New York is. And then he said, okay, who's the mayor of New York? Crickets again. Somehow when you're pressed for those kind of things, you freeze up at our age. The more you try to think of them. Morgan Freeman is the name I was thinking of. Okay. See?
Okay.
As long as I moved away from having to name him, I could name him. All right? And so when pressed, I was just, and it's in the medical report. He didn't know who the governor of New York was and who the mayor of New York City was.
Wow.
Now, there's a good reason. One of the good reasons is that I do a talk show, but I do a show for an entire nation, actually the world. And so local politics don't really mean much. So,
right.
That was my... So that was my big problem. So I'm embarrassed now, and it's permanently in my record, which will follow me for the rest of my life.
You'll never get that out.
Yeah, I mean, every doctor I ever see will say, well, let me look at my notes here. Didn't know who the governor of New York was. Apparently, though, that didn't change his opinion of why I have numb feet. So it had nothing to do with it. So. Mm-hmm. And the numbness isn't neuropathy. Everybody went, oh, you've got neuropathy. No, I don't have neuropathy. I have he just figured it out, and then he went and got an x-ray and saw it. I have a pinched nerve in my in my L5 or L4 or whatever that is. I don't know what those things are, because I have arthritis in the spine, and it's pinching a nerve, and that's causing the numbness in the feet.
And that's pretty common as you get older.
I guess. The only thing is, I went, well, you got some drugs? I'm figuring, now at least I'll get something for my trouble, right? Mm-hmm. No, we'll send you to physical therapy. I don't want physical therapy. I want a drug. Give me the good stuff, Doc. Make the hurting go away.
Well, you were talking about actors that are easy to get along with. You must. Who have you heard that's a nightmare?
Well, who did I hear was a nightmare? I don't know. There are quite a few I've heard from time to time, but I can't name any right now. Usually, they never became that big. They became big for a little while, and then they disappeared because nobody wanted to work with them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So the real bad ones we probably don't even know. I'm trying to.
You can. Well, let's see. If you're a super talent, you can be a total a-hole, and they'll work. Like I guess Brando was kind of bad.
Brando was very difficult, supposedly.
Yeah.
Number one, he didn't memorize his lines. And you're saying, so how did he do them? Well, you saw him doing them. They wrote them on cue cards, and they had them all over the set. So if you ever notice, Brando's always looking up at the sky when he's talking, and down in the ground and everything. That's where the cue cards were.
There's a famous picture from The Godfather. Robert Duvall is just covered with cue cards for Brando.
Oh, he is? Really?
Yeah.
I don't understand it myself. Why? Well, I'll tell you who's terrible. Who is terrible? My friend Jack Garfine, who was a director on Broadway. Who did he say was just terrible? Oh, yeah. What's her name? Oh, God. Oh, jeez. Now my mind. See, I'll remember it in a moment.
It'll come back.
She's dead. And she was in Lolita. She played Lolita's mother, Shelley Winters.
Oh, okay.
He said horrible, hated working with her, would never work with her again. She was just the worst. So
yeah, she always. I remember on talk shows she just seemed obnoxious.
Yeah, Shelley Winters he hated. And had nothing good to say about it. I said to him, who was the worst actress you ever had to work with? And he said, without even breathing, Shelley Winters.
Yeah. It's bad when someone gives you the answer just like that.
Yeah, when they don't have to say, well, let me think about it.
It's still on their mind.
Yeah, let me think about it. Shelley Winters. I think Shelley Winters. Definitely, just Shelley Winters. That was what came out. Shelley Winters. So I
kind of liked him, but I got the feeling Jerry Lewis was probably not too much fun to work with.
I don't know. Sometimes he didn't have to work with many people after a while because he worked for himself.
Mm-hmm.
So, but in working with him, I wonder what it was like being an actor with him. And he used a lot of the same actors over and over again in his pictures. So apparently they were willing to work with him, Okay. But Jerry Lewis had a pretty high opinion of himself.
Right.
There was recently I watched an interview with the last interview he ever did with Jerry Seinfeld and comedians in cars getting coffee.
Oh, I want to see that, yeah.
And apparently he held it off from his last run because it was done last year. And he just tells how wonderful Lewis was,
Really?
and espouses how great he was. And I guess I gained a little appreciation from Jerry's opinion of Jerry Lewis. But I never saw it, okay? I saw it briefly, early on. Nutty Professor, I think, was pretty brilliant.
You're right.
He made me laugh when I would otherwise want to cry. I was in a terrible situation in my life, and if ever I was going to commit suicide, it was then. It was when I got this girl pregnant, and then she gave the kid up for adoption, and I was very depressed. And I walked into a movie theater, and I can't remember what film it was now. People say that if it was in a certain year, it was probably Cinderfella, which is not his funniest movie. But I remember just deciding I'll go to the movie, and I watched Jerry Lewis film, and he made me laugh so much that I forgot my troubles for a little while. And I said, that's what show business is all about. That's what entertaining people is all about. You know, you take them away from something that they really have to deal with. You take them away for a little bit. You make them laugh. And so I appreciated Jerry Lewis on that level. But as the years went on, he was just ghastly. You know?
Yeah.
It was nothing, you know.
But the early stuff was great.
The early stuff was great. The Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis pictures I love. You know, I love them as a team. They were brilliant. Who would have thought that
they were the Beatles of their time, actually.
I have a video of them. They were at the what theater were they at? New York. They were one of the big theaters, the Paramount Theater.
Paramount.
Yeah, and they're at their window looking down at the crowd, and it looks, if you had then interchanged that crowd with Beatles footage, you wouldn't have doubted it for a moment. It was the same kind of insanity. And they were up there mugging for people and so on and so forth. But they, I remember them on the Colgate Comedy Hour, because what they would do is they would do sketches and stuff like that, and that was okay. But then they would do their act. They would have an orchestra there, and they would be on, like they were on stage doing their act. It was one of the funniest fucking acts I've ever seen in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was this organ grinder and his chimp. It was amazing.
That's a great description.
It was amazing. And in fact, when I first started in this business, I called myself Jerry Bennett, after Jerry Lewis.
Really?
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. And then I realized that was a big mistake. And I went to Houston and I became James Bond, because that was what they wanted me to do. And then when I didn't want to do the James Bond thing anymore, they let me do a talk show, and they said, well, what name do you want to use? Then I thought of going back to Jerry Bennett, and then I said, I got to get a better first name. And my father had just died. And in honor of him, I named myself Alex, which was his first name.
That's great.
And so I came up with a pretty good and original name. I don't think there are that many other Alex Bennetts in the business.
And it's certainly better than Jerry Bennett.
You know, and looking at my career, if they are named Alex Bennett, they change it. Of course, nobody else in television or radio can use, or movies can use my name.
That's right.
Because if that's your name, that's your name. For instance, the reason why Stuart Granger, who was, most people don't even remember the actor Stuart Granger, but he was a contract star at MGM, and he really was a big movie actor, did a lot of films. He did, but he couldn't use his real name. He had to change it to Stuart Granger, because his real name was James Stewart.
Wow.
Yeah. And you can't in AFTRA or SAG have the name someone else uses.
Right, and you know why they did that?
Why?
So there wouldn't be any confusion with residual checks.
Was that it?
Yeah, and then there was an actor named John Carson, and he had to go by John David Carson, because you can't have the two same names together.
Right.
He had a career that lasted about 2 years, but it was John.
I remember John David Carson. Yeah. And Tony Curtis had to change his name. Originally, it was Mae West. So, yes. But
you're on fire today.
I'm on fire today, yeah. Yeah. I can't remember Morgan Freeman.
But the neurons are all clicking. You're doing well.
The neurons are clicking, but they're not firing. That's the problem. It's so embarrassing not being able to name Mario Cuomo. Oh, by the way, do you know who the mayor of New York City is?
Well, it was Bloomberg, and now it's...
Well, that I could have named.
It's the de Blasio.
See, you're good. See? You still got all your marbles. I've lost mine. I have no idea what this doctor was saying. So I go to my first physical therapy on Thursday. I'm going back to my old physical therapist that did my knee, and we'll see if he can make my back better. You know, I have no pain back there. It's just the numb feet, and it drives me crazy because when I lie down, especially, they start to hurt. You know. And I'm sitting, and that does it too. So,
and you're still doing the bicycle.
Father, dear, you're growing old. Yeah, right after we're finished here, I'm going to get. I'm in my my workout outfit already, which is just shorts and shoes, and I'm going down to the place, and I'll do another 20 minutes. I always say I'm going to do 20 minutes. I wind up doing 25. But that's a workout. That's what?
That's a good workout.
Is it a good workout?
Yeah. What
would be considered an okay workout?
20 minutes would be an okay. Anything above that's very good.
Yeah. So, I set myself up for 20 minutes, and then if I go longer, fine. I just find that doing that sort of thing is a waste of your life. Because you're not going anywhere. You're not seeing anything. I bring along my iPhone so I can watch Netflix while I'm doing it, So.
Well, it is, and it's also working out is just incredibly boring.
It is very boring. Now, at least when you run, you're seeing stuff.
You see stuff, yes. You get in confrontations with people, so sometimes you can liven it up that way.
But what do you mean confrontations with people?
Bicycles. In this city, there's bicycles that run people over, so you're always fighting them. And when I run, I have some bread in my pockets because I like to throw bread to birds, and apparently that makes some people crazy. And I almost got into fights with people over that.
Over bread for birds?
Yeah, I'm running through Fort Mason. I throw some bread out, and this park ranger goes, "Hey, don't feed the birds." And I said, "Don't feed your children." And
oh boy,
he practically lost his mind. I thought he was going to come after me.
Quickly, I'll tell you a quick story. We were doing a TV show, one of my Alex Bennett specials for Channel 44, and we were doing these things outside, and we found that if we took bread and put it on ourselves, pigeons would just come flocking to us.
Mm-hmm.
And you could I could put bread on top of my head, and a pigeon would stand on my head to get it. So we knew where we literally, I had a pigeon wrangler who wrangled the pigeons, right?
Wrangler.
Well, there's a guy next to me who obviously went to the park every day, went to the Palace of Fine Arts every day, and fed the pigeons. And none of the pigeons were coming to him; they were all coming to us, and he was pissed off at us because we were feeding his fucking pigeons. People, that's a kind of insanity you run into with people.
Yeah, they're jealous pigeon wranglers.
Jealous, so they don't like you throwing bread, I guess, because it encourages the pigeons. Is that it?
Well, I actually don't. I feel it's usually crows because I like crows because they're really smart. But I don't know. They think it's not natural.
We'll have to get into that the next time we talk because we've run out of time, and I want to know why crows are intelligent. So people can stay tuned.
They are. Yeah.
People can stay tuned to this program next week and find out why crows are intelligent. From Larry Bubbles Brown. Thank you, Larry.
Birdman of Alcatraz, yes.
Celebrating 4 years of talk like you've never heard it before. This is GABNET, the Great American Broadcast Network.
Hey, everybody. How are you? Welcome back. Thank you very much, Larry. We love Larry Brown. Who doesn't love Larry Brown? Come on, anybody? You don't love Larry Brown? I don't know anybody in this whole wide world that dislikes Larry Brown. I know people that hate me, but that goes with the territory. But everybody loves Larry. And I keep saying that, and then everybody loves Raymond too, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, let me open up the Skype lines here. We had quite a weekend worth of news and things like that. A lot of things going on. So the question is, are people going to call to want to talk about it? What do I want? What is it that we have to talk about? Well. You know, him, among other things, okay? Anyway, if you don't know how to get a hold of us using Skype, very few of you do. We have regulars, and then that's it, and I'd like some new people to call, too. And the way you learn how to do that is you go over to gabnet.net. That's GABNET.net. And over there, not only will you see the program running, so you don't have to miss a moment of it if you're watching it on video. You can also hear it in audio there if you want to. But also on the right-hand side of the page is a tutorial on how to call us using Skype and how to call the program using Skype. And we would love to have you call. It would just be a wonderful, wonderful thing. Did I do anything this weekend? No. A girlfriend was out of town, and so that left me alone to my own devices. I had the bedroom all to myself, and I had a really nice time. Oh, look! I got to tell you, you can't see it, folks, but let me just go to a picture of Scott Boddicker. Scott, turn your picture off so we can see the picture that you have there.
No.
Huh? Isn't it, wait a minute. Oh, he hung up on us. That's not what I wanted you to do, Scott. That's not what I wanted you to do, Scott. Let me see. Add the group. Wait a minute. There we go. Now, see, what is that? That's the daughter, and
yeah.
I hit
the wrong button. I'm sorry. I hit the off button.
Yeah, and her bridesmaids, I guess.
Yes, my other daughters.
Yeah, very nice, very nice, and a very attractive daughter. I assume your daughter is the one in the middle.
The one in the white, yeah.
Yeah, the one in the white.
Well, the other two are in blue. You can't see the one on the right.
Yeah.
Or left.
Looks like everybody looks like it was really nice.
It was. It was very nice.
It made you feel real old, right?
Very old.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, now it's on to children and things like that, and being a grandpa, hopefully. And
hopefully.
Are you looking forward to the grandpa thing?
Of course I am.
I imagine Jeff Stein is a grandpa, right, Jeff?
I have 4 granddaughters.
4 granddaughters, okay. And Phil, do you have any grandchildren? No, you don't have your microphone on. That's for damn sure.
Phil.
Or just one moment. What? oh! It's the new audio board that he bought, and this is how well it works. Yes, Phil, are you going to be able to get audio to us?
Hey, this is going to be a better show than I thought.
Oh man! You know, why don't you just pull out that one and put back in the old one? Look at him. He's a regular Marcel. Gee, and I was looking forward to talking to you tonight. But now we can say all we've got to say, and you can be frustrated there not having a microphone. So you didn't, before you did this, you didn't check to make sure the microphone works? You made sure it worked.
Yeah, good job.
Did you make sure that it worked through Skype? Did you notice the audio going back and forth on Skype? Really? Are you sure of that? You're gonna hang up, or what are you gonna do here? You're gonna hang up, and then you're gonna come back and try again, right? What?
Can't hear you.
Oh, you're gonna call me on the phone?
See, use a cell phone.
You're gonna use the cell phone? He goes out, he buys a $1,200 board, and the fucking thing doesn't work. How about that, huh? Boy. Anyway, how was your weekend, Jeff?
Good. I'm like back at home.
Yeah.
That's nice. And getting ready to go to Italy.
What?
Taking the family.
That's right. I'm taking all the grandkids to Italy.
Really?
Yeah.
That's nice. Are you gonna call us from there?
Sure.
Yeah, you got to.
Sure. I had too many friends, and actually my brother-in-laws who died.
Yeah.
In the last couple of years, and I said, "This is crazy. We don't want to go to another funeral. We'd rather go on a vacation."
Good for you.
You know, what the hell?
So is this setting you back a bit?
Oh yeah.
It's only money.
Hey, may as well use it now.
Yeah. Well, I wish.
See, what
am
I gonna do? Spend it on Gabnet?
Well, you see, I don't understand. See, I have a limited amount of money, but it's enough. If I die tomorrow, no, it's enough. But if I knew how long I was going to live, then I would spend it accordingly. You know, why leave money behind? I don't have any kids. We don't have anybody to leave the money to. You know, you leave it to you, Scott? Sure.
Yeah,
why not?
I'll take it.
Why not? Girlfriend thinks she's going to go before me. You know.
Well, she may go, but she may not die. She may just go.
She may just go. May just leave me.
Yeah. And you're still here.
She said that the other day on the air, I said about chiropractors that if he doesn't fix you in one visit, why go to him? Did I say that?
I didn't hear that.
I don't remember saying
something
it.
like that.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. Because I don't expect any doctor to fix me on the first visit. You know, they have to make a living. Right?
Well, I think what you said is something like, what they'll do is they'll adjust you, but you got to come back in 2 weeks for the same adjustment over and over and over too.
Yeah. Now,
you said something like that also.
So I'm going to, for this thing, the numb feet, which are just this week, they've been giving me a terrible time. It hurts when I walk and all of that. And my doctor found that I had arthritis in my spine and it's pinching a nerve, and that's what's doing it. So I have to go to physical therapy. So I imagine a physical therapist would be the guy to go to, right? Rather than a chiropractor?
Yes. I think they're much better.
Really? A physical therapist?
Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah. And plus, her chiropractor doesn't take insurance. You know. He bills the insurance company for you, but you have to pay him. And I'm going, my guy, the insurance takes care of him. So, you know. I just don't know what I should do. So anyway, we've lost Phil because Phil decided he was going to put in his new $1,200 control board when he could have bought one for $89 that would be working right now. You know? He has no idea why. I think it's hilarious myself, but, you know. He's sending me his old board. I know that one works. You know. But I can't install it in here because I don't have the room. I need a small footprint. Anyway, I don't want to start talking about Trump until he's here. But then again, we could talk about Trump now, get it out of our system, and by the time he gets the audio up and running, we can say to him, well, we're tired of talking about that already.
Yeah, that's good. Let's talk about something else.
Yeah. But let's see here. Is there anything else we can talk about? You know what? Did anybody get a chance? Any of you have Showtime?
No.
But I don't watch it too much.
There's the new Sacha Baron Cohen show. And I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's something America. It was so funny that my wife was pissing her pants. That's how funny it was.
That's pretty damn funny.
The reviews on it have been mixed. Some people hate it, and some people absolutely love it. I thought it was terrific. But the last piece he does in the show, he plays these different characters, like he used to do Borat and stuff. Well, now these are different characters, because if he shows up as Borat, people immediately know he's up to no good. So he shows up as other people now. And one of them is an Israeli commando who wants to come to the United States and push the idea that, we shouldn't arm teachers. We should arm the students. And that we think all kids over 3-year-olds should be able to carry firearms.
That is funny.
And he gets people to agree with him. He gets gun advocates to agree with him. And he then gets people like Trent Lott to do a commercial for arming kids. Yes.
Is this thing working?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I'm using the cameras.
That's what it sounded like.
Yeah.
You know how much that camera cost you?
Yeah, $99.
Yeah.
But this was working yesterday on the Skype test call. I just did another one, and it's not working. So I must have messed up something.
Yeah, you messed up your whole system by buying a $1,200 piece of board.
I bought it on eBay used.
Oh, really?
It's $600.
It's $600 used.
Mm-hmm.
I see.
And it was working yesterday. I did the Skype test call. It worked just fine.
Yeah.
Let me see. Maybe I need these things.
Probably. So you can hear yourself. Right. Yeah. Are you sure you've got? Well, I guess if I were there, I maybe could help you do it.
Yeah. Well, I watched about 30 YouTube videos on this thing, setting it up, and it was working. So I must have touched something.
Yes, you touched your wallet. Yeah. So no,
Did you get the Russian version or did you get the American version?
Yeah, the apologist version.
The apologist version. Oh boy, where do we begin? Oh God, I don't know where to begin with this. How about there are some people, and I tend to agree with them, saying that what Trump did this weekend was a traitorous act.
No, what Trump did was smart.
Oh, no, Phil, you're flying in the face of every Republican alive right now who'd like to murder the guy.
Well, I think they're just looking to preserve their seats.
Oh, don't tell me that throwing your own people away and siding with that murderous thug.
Well, this is the deal.
Yeah. This is what deal, Phil? Come on, I want to hear this.
If you're going to negotiate a deal, do you worry about what's happened in the past if you want to do a deal in the future?
Hey, Phil, this isn't The Apprentice, okay? I mean, the deal here is sometimes a matter of life and death, okay? Putin came out...
Nuclear disarmament... North Korea, China, Syria.
Do we have nuclear disarmament with North Korea?
We're talking about nuclear disarmament with Russia.
No, we're not. That was never on the table. Where did you hear that?
He said that between the two of them, they have 90% of the nuclear.
He said that.
Yeah, but he didn't say that he was going to do anything about stopping it.
The START Treaty is going to, according to Putin and him, that they're going to renew the START treaty. They're going to limit their nuclear capacity, and I think that that's a very positive thing.
Where'd you hear this bullshit?
I watched it right. It came right out of Putin's mouth.
I was watching it. No, it came out of Putin's mouth.
Right.
You know, you're in a room there with two of the biggest liars in the world. Okay. And you're telling me which one I should believe?
Yeah. Well, I don't believe Stroke or that guy.
Believe me when I say Putin did not walk out of that room giving up anything and getting a lot.
Well, we'll see. You got to start talking first.
What do you mean we'll see? Today, Trump tried to back off of his statements yesterday. He tried to walk them back.
He was trying to help other Republicans that were getting backlash because the media was beating them up and not seeing the importance of what you heard
Then what was happening with these guys yesterday when they were beating up the president? These were Republicans. Fox was beating up on them.
My mother said Fox.
Yeah, I think they're just looking for their own survival.
Huh?
They're going for their own survival.
Wait a minute. What kind of survival is Fox going for?
Well, right now, just to beat MSNBC, but, the Republicans don't want to lose any seats.
Phil, you sound like an idiot. You really sound like an idiot.
Can I tell you?
You know, come on.
Maybe I should work on my board.
Your president is a traitor.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think that he put the greater good in front of something that happened in the past.
What was the greater good in this particular case?
The greater good is everything else that they had to negotiate.
No, the greater good was to keep the pee-pee photos from showing up.
He must have something on Alex. You're right.
Matter of fact, Chris Wallace.
This is what you're going to say. Don't say
Chris Wallace asked Putin if he had anything on Trump, and Putin said no.
And you believe Putin?
Thanks for answering that. Now I know.
It's amazing. It's amazing how
it must be true if he said it.
How you guys will believe one of the world's greatest thugs and murderers, and yet you will allow our president to throw our allies to the wolves.
I'm actually enjoying it, really. This whole burning thing.
Good. Yeah, I don't think he threw the allies to the wolves. I think what he's doing is he's dealing with the biggest wolf there is, and little Bo Peep is just going to have to pay the bill.
Why don't we just admit it? This so-called guy who wrote a book called The Art of the Deal doesn't know how to make a deal.
We'll see.
We'll see. How long do I have to wait until the bombs are dropping from the skies?
I think that that they're getting along with Russia is a good thing, and I think.
Do you really think we're getting along with Russia, or do you think Putin has put one over on Trump?
A lot better than they dealt with Obama, and
no, Obama stood up to them.
No, Obama acquiesced. Obama just didn't want anything to happen.
How did he acquiesce? Name a situation in which he acquiesced to the Russians.
Syria, the red line in the sand.
No, I said the Russians. Oh, the red line, the Russians. You know.
Okay, and that enabled the Russians to walk into Syria, and
I see. Okay. So Syria is Obama's fault.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Boy, do you. Whew. Wow.
And so is ISIS.
Yeah. Anybody else you want to blame on him?
Alex Bennett.
Yeah.
Wow. You know, look, Alex, I was watching Anderson Cooper before. He had the guy on from All the President's Men, that writer. What's his name?
Bernstein.
Yes, and Bernstein said, I've never seen a president. He's worse than Nixon, he said. He says he cannot. It's like he thinks he could be impeached because the Republicans want him out for what he said. Can they impeach him on that?
Yes.
He's a traitor. If they can say it's a traitorous act, his job as president is to protect and uphold the Constitution of the United States of America, and he's supposed to also protect the nation. And when he does something that puts it in jeopardy, he is going against his stated vow of what he would do, stated oath. And there's a good shot that in that particular case, he was a traitor because he was throwing up the United States in favor of a foreign government.
Oh, that's what he said. Yeah.
And there are Republicans. There are Republicans who have said it was traitorous.
Yeah.
We'll see. Anyway, he stepped
it's
back.
Not good for what he said.
He stepped it back, and nothing's going to happen of it. You know, I think that
it's his own fault, Trump. You got to keep talking. You know what? It looks like that Putin has something on him.
No,
it's so obvious.
Putin has something on you.
I wish he did. I got nothing. He got, soon I'm going to get paid in rubles. That's what I told him.
Well, anyway.
But Phil, you're not a little worried about that whole thing?
No.
Not at all?
Not at all.
Oh, my God. I can't believe this guy. I figured he'd be a little worried.
I can't remember what Republican it was who said that what's his name? Trump should check that soccer ball for microphones.
Oh yeah,
Which one? Who was that?
I didn't hear that.
I heard that too, but I don't know who said it.
It wasn't Mitch McConnell. It was somebody like Mitch McConnell. Yeah.
See how quick they are to cut and run, these guys? They're just fair weather supporters. When Trump was doing really well and everything was falling in behind him, these guys couldn't wait.
When exactly was that, Phil?
Oh, for the last year and a half.
Really?
Yeah.
Everything's been going smoothly?
I think so.
The other day, he bragged that the Dow went over 25,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the funny part about it was it had before. It went down.
Well, what goes down must come up. You know, what goes up must go down. What was it, Galileo?
It just looks crazy that you're watching this guy. And you know what he's going to do next?
Phil was one of those guys working on making the deal.
Yeah.
Is he just stupid? Like,
well, I think that
he just doesn't know what the hell's going on yet.
He knows what's going on, and I think he was dealing with the greater good.
No, he was dealing with a greater mind. He was dealing with a great. He was dealing with a greater leader. He was dealing with a greater Machiavellian individual. He was dealing with the kind, maybe the best deals he had to make was with the mob in New York City. But believe me, Putin is the ultimate mobster.
Well, Putin's a pretty smart guy. And, we'll see what comes out of this. I think if Putin is smart, he knows making a friend of Trump is going to be better than making an enemy.
No, he's going to know that flattering Trump will get you anything you want.
Yeah, well, I don't think he flattered him. When they first sat down, he hardly looked at Trump.
That was a photo op.
Yeah.
That was a photo op. What happened in the meetings? You know what they want now? They want the translator to testify before Congress as to what went on in that room.
Oh, there was a closed room, just him and him, right?
Yeah.
No, there was two translators.
There were two translators. And
I think that Congress is due.
Can they get that out?
Yeah, they can get that information because I guess all of those things need to be public knowledge.
Well, I mean, they can get the translator and get her to say what was said in that room.
No, it'd be interesting.
Maybe they had a system where it actually could listen to those.
Oh, I'm sure that there's a recording of it. I'm sure Putin made one.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, he's probably got it all taped, everything. He's probably ready to go viral any second, just in case he doesn't do something for him.
Right.
Oh, Phil, our leader is Putin right now. That's
I wish I knew why this thing wasn't working.
I'm starting to enjoy it.
Oh, now we're gonna have to deal all night with his worry about it after the show, Phil.
What is he doing? He's probably.
Yeah.
Phil, you could always move to Russia. Property's cheap.
It might work there.
I wonder if property's cheap in Russia.
No, I don't think so.
Putin will probably take it from you, though, if he doesn't like it.
Yeah, that's one of the problems.
Well, listen, let's get some more callers in here because I want to hear what other people have to say too. I want to hear what the well, of course, you know, our audience for the most part is going to say that you're full of shit, and
of course,
and even somebody like Patrick would call up and say, in this case, you're full of shit.
Well, I think that the judge is still out on what the effects of this are.
And which judge is that? Judge Judy?
I think that what he did was for the greater good.
The greater good of who?
And he said in that conference that he had intelligence that said that the Russians meddled in our election. And Putin said, okay, if you want to interview these 12 people, you can send your people over. We'll let you interview them. You can depose them. And I don't...
Do you think that that's a wise idea, Phil?
Well, they're not going to put our investigators in jail. Yeah, I think it's a wise idea.
You think it's a wise idea to allow them to interrogate our people? No, that's what he wants to do.
No, he offered to allow our interrogators to depose.
No, you got it all wrong. He wants them to come over and for them to ask him questions, but he wants to get stuff out of them and find out what he wants them to present their evidence.
Yep.
Well, he got their evidence.
Am I right? Am I right, Scott?
Yep.
No, Chris Wallace
Wait a minute.
handed the indictment.
No, I know he did, and Putin didn't even pick it up. Okay, but
he just said put it on the table.
No, here's the point. Scott heard exactly what I heard. That what Putin wanted was the ability to debrief these people from the FBI and the Justice Department and so on, women, and see what they've got. Have them present their evidence to them. And that's. Am I right, Scott? Did I hear it wrong?
Well, what Putin wanted was Putin wants to interview some billionaire guy who made a lot of money over in Russia and took all the money out of Russia. He wants to get the money back for Russian taxes because I guess Putin didn't get his cut. So he wants to
go over
to the U.S. and get some guy. And if we're going to be able to go over to Russia and interview their guys, he wants to come over here and interview this billionaire that stole money from him.
That's not it.
All right, let's see if I can find anything.
Son
of a bitch!
What you know something, Phil?
I'm having a bad electronics night.
Just like Trump had over the weekend.
You're not going to fix it, Phil.
Listen to the transcript. I said wouldn't. I didn't mean would.
I wanted to get information on what Putin had offered, and I didn't hear it that way. And I think that you guys hear it through Democratic ears.
No, we heard it through what was said yesterday.
Well, I heard what was said yesterday, and Putin said that he would.
But you seem to put so much credibility in what Putin says.
Well,
because he's a traitor too.
He's the guy we got to deal with.
No, he's the guy we got to stop from doing his evil deeds towards our country.
He said that these actors were doing it on their own and without the authorization.
Bull fucking shit. Do you think anything goes on in Russia any longer without Putin having his finger on the pulse of it?
I'm sure. There's no way you can run a government.
Oh, right, of course.
And have your finger on and micromanage every person there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right.
I can't micromanage 6 employees, let alone 60 million, or how many they have there.
Believe me, if tomorrow he said stop hacking the United States, all of a sudden it would stop.
Well, he did say that, didn't he?
No, he didn't.
He said we won't interfere with your elections.
Well, right, okay. I don't think he said exactly that. There was some way he phrased it that gave him more latitude to do other stuff. Yeah, he didn't say he was going to stop. What was the term he used? I'm trying to remember. I'm having a bad time recalling exactly the wording. But, you know, it's the same as Trump today trying to walk back one word, which was wouldn't versus would. He suddenly found one place where he could say, well, I really meant something else, and change the whole dialogue. And it was so full of shit. It was like the dog ate my homework as an excuse.
Did sound a little full of shit to me.
Yeah. What? Yeah. Oh, Jesus.
the wouldn't thing sounded full of shit.
I want to say...
I didn't think he had to apologize for anything.
I want to say, folks, thank you so much for having enjoyed Gabnet. We're going to close down the entire network now because there's no reason to keep doing it, because Phil finally agreed that Trump may have been full of shit.
No, I said that he didn't need to walk back his statement. I agreed with it.
You agreed with the
original one.
Yeah, the traitor statement. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. You know, what he said was Putin said that he didn't do it. He said he sternly answered me, and he said he didn't do it. He said he didn't expect a Perry Mason moment when he presented the accusation.
Yeah, and that's like the time Bush said he looked into Putin's eyes and saw his soul and knew he was telling the truth. Do you remember that one?
It's like a superhero.
No, he said he was...
Hey, Bree, how are you? Bree?
Good. How are you, Alex?
Okay, where are you right now?
I'm still in the Philippines at the moment.
Still in the Philippines. Oh, okay.
Bree?
Yeah.
The other day you asked me where she grew up at Makati.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
and the street.
Yeah, I figured that out.
Yeah, and the street is Evangelista.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Makati.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you can go to Makati anytime, Phil. Makati is higher end than where you live right now.
Really?
Makati is sort of the let's see, I'm trying to think back from my days in the States. The Beverly Hills of Manila.
Oh. Interesting.
Wow.
And she grew up on some street, it's Evangelista. I don't know where that is, but it's in Makati.
Yeah, well, this is something that means a lot to almost everybody who's listening to us right now.
Well, Bree asked me where she grew up, and I said, you know.
Okay, so you told them. Now you don't have to give us the rest of the topographical information of the Philippines.
You know, this was a previous show, and you know.
Well, that's all the more reason not to bring it up.
Self-reflexivity.
Yeah. You're not breaking up on us. You're kind of like you got a weird bandwidth there.
Yeah. There's something going on with this internet, and I'm using Alcatel tablet.
Yeah, that's better.
It's not so great.
That's slightly better. That's better, actually. You're sounding better now. Do we get a picture on you at all?
No, I think that would peter it out.
Oh, really?
No,
okay. All right.
Well, yeah, it's not because of the internet. It's the device I'm using. Yeah.
Alcatel? Who is Alcatel? I know the name.
Yeah, I forget. I read about it at some point. It's just a kind of tablet, you know.
Yeah. So did you watch any of Our President with Putin at all, Bree?
No, I got to tell you, I'm kind of out of the loop when it comes to news. I'm on vacation, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but what if you come back and the entire world has been blown to smithereens?
Well, I mean, what we're dealing with here is a lot of rains and some, you know, and some flooding in some areas. That's, you know, so I mean, I read about it, but you know, it's hard to follow Trump. You never know what is real and what is happening. I mean, one day he says Russia is our greatest ally and friend, you know, and European Union is terrible and they're our enemy. And then the next day he'll say, oh, but I didn't mean that. I meant it in this way. You mistook me. And so you can't really it's so hard. It's so amorphous. How can you follow him?
Somebody today put it that on Monday he said something. On Tuesday he walked it back. There's always a good chance on Wednesday he's going to go back to his original statement. That there's no consistency with this guy in his lying, as it were. Yes, Jeff.
Is it true that the president is the guy who's able to pull the button?
Oh, there we go. We have a picture and everything now. Yeah. What were you going to now? What were you going to?
I'm sorry.
The president is the guy who pulls the button, right?
Pushes the button.
Nuclear.
Yeah. Figuratively, yeah.
Now, what happens if he's the guy who makes a lot of mistakes? He changes his mind on things.
Well, my question really is, what is going to happen if he does try to push the button? I'll tell you something. We're getting a lot of noise out of you.
Sorry.
Bree.
I'm trying to give you the picture. I shouldn't have, I guess.
Yeah, well, yeah. It's nice to see it, but, he has his finger on the button. Yes, he has his finger on the button. But he doesn't literally have his finger on the button. It's not sitting there and he pushes it and all of a sudden the world blows up. It's literally a button that he put. It's not a button he pushes so much as a command he gives, and then other people follow up on that command. And my question is that if the day comes when he makes that command, if he does, because I'm frightened just like you are that this ability is in his hands, what's going to happen? Are the people who have to follow through with that order going to actually do it? And I don't know if they will or not. I hope they don't. But, in fact, a lot of people are trying to figure out a way to get that power away from him because they see him as such a loose cannon. So,
that's it.
Hello, Jack Bishop.
Thought I'd drop by just for a minute and tell Phil Meyer that the problem he's having is his Skype is set to the internal microphone in his camera. There's another setting that he needs to be on.
Yeah, no, he knows that. He went to that setting so he could talk to us.
Yeah. Right now it's set to the webcam. But when I tried to pick something else from the drop-down menu, the FireWire thing is not there now. It was yesterday. And
well, I'll go back to sleep then. I didn't anything else anyway.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second. You got to know that you're in pretty bad trouble there, Phil, when you're getting technical information from Jack Bishop.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you're in bad trouble when I agree with you about something.
What, you agree with me about Trump?
No, I don't agree with you about Trump, but I think you pay your money, you pick your side.
Yeah.
Be true to just like high school, be true to your team.
Yeah, but, I mean...
I'm not a fair weather Republican.
You're not a fair weather Republican?
Yeah.
But you're a fair weather Trump follower.
No, I like Trump, and I think he did the right thing, but you're never going to agree with that. Because you think that, people like Peter Strzok aren't trying to undermine the election.
Well, did you ever agree with Obama? Did you ever agree with Clinton?
Yeah, Clinton was good for the economy.
But you never agreed with anything that Obama did. Honestly,
I can't think that he did that much. What did he do? He tried to fuck up the healthcare system.
Well, you see, I disagree with you on that. But hey, let's fight about it one night on the intersection.
Yeah, well, I got to get my microphone going before this is not comfortable.
You're invited to fight with me any night of the week.
Thank you very much. Although tomorrow is Faye's birthday, and even though I have a camera thing to do, so I won't be here tomorrow, but so I got to deal with her birthday and.
Well, then we'll just make sure we don't go on tomorrow night because there's no reason to.
Well, thank you.
I could use the night off anyway. I got to do laundry and wash my hair.
Hey, that was very Trump of you.
Very Trump of me. Yeah, no, Well, in September, I'm taking a week off.
Oh, please don't say that. Am I going to have to fill in for you for a whole week?
If you want to. If you don't want to, there'll just be 2 dead hours here.
Oh, we can't have that.
Right. Yeah. Oh, two. Yeah, right.
We cannot have that.
Yeah.
So that's
I don't want us ever to take another 4-day vacation.
Because I'm
retrained.
I'm just going to start taking vacations finally.
I think it's a good idea.
Well, you know what I would suggest? Maybe we could have guest host night with some of our Gabnetters.
Yeah, they've done that before. Didn't work out so well.
What? No, we never did that.
Well, you had that thing with.
I can see Phil doing a show.
There was a guy that used to talk. Used to call the show, and he knew a lot about the Constitution. And didn't he do some sort of thing? And it didn't work out.
Just one night.
Yeah. It was one night too long.
And then when he said, "How was it?" I felt I had to give an honest answer, and that was the last I heard from him.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, you just said it wasn't what you expected.
Well, it wasn't what he sold me he was going to do.
Yeah.
Well, you know who could do?
Amy?
No, please. You know who could do a show? Yeah. Renee Collins.
That might be interesting.
Yeah. You've been in broadcasting a long time, right?
Yeah, more years than I care to admit.
And you know it ain't that easy.
No, it's not that easy.
And I think Renee is great as a guest, and she can certainly hold her own in a discussion, but to actually run a show is a different thing altogether.
You probably have a point, and the only other guy that I had read
Rob Alfano.
Well, Rob doesn't have belief in himself as a talk show host.
But he could do it for 4 days.
No, but what I'm saying is that I think Rob is one of the best talents I've worked with. And when he did a show here, it was terrific. But he didn't think it was. He did not have faith. He had more faith in himself as a disc jockey than he did as a talk show host. And I tried to convince him that he was very good, but he wouldn't, he just wouldn't believe it,
I know a guy in Atlanta that's the same way, who could do what we do, but he says, I'm just a disc jockey.
Right.
And you read the newspaper, you got an opinion, you're a talk show host. You talk about this kind of stuff over coffee at the coffee shop. I said, well, yeah, but that's not the same. You got to know what you're talking about. I said, oh, hell, if you had to know that.
I don't.
Limbaugh, Hannity, me, Alex, we wouldn't have gigs.
I'll tell you what.
We're making this shit up as we go.
I'm not a very good disc jockey.
So what do you want to do? I've got it on mute.
I thought you were.
Huh?
I've got it on.
I only did that.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second. What
Bree is talking to somebody in the background.
Oh, Bree says he's on mute. You're not on mute, Bree.
Okay, I'm on now. I am. Right?
No.
You're not on now either.
Now you say hello, Bree.
Hello, Bree.
Okay, now you're on mute.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway,
and don't be like Mike and stay on Mike.
No, I mean, I was never a very good disc jockey.
I thought you were.
You were fine.
I listened to some tapes of me, and I was at a point where I cared about being a disc jockey.
Yeah.
I was okay at it,
I have a tape from me from 1963, and I would not hire me.
Yeah.
But over the years, I got pretty good.
Well, you used to say, Alex, that you didn't want to play anything that was new because you wanted to let the jocks do that, and you would pick music that wasn't the newest stuff. That wasn't the hot stuff.
I don't remember saying that, but I mean,
but Camel, yeah, because I was picking I was pulling the music off that chart. You know, it had a color-coded chart, and so I could pull albums.
In those days when I was working on music stations, essentially doing a talk show, I had to fight every single day to not play records.
Yeah.
You know, it was kind of like I often described that they would do with me what people would do with me when they found out a Jew was coming for dinner, to try and see if they could make me eat pork, you know.
Yeah.
Well, it was also, let's see how many records we can get Alex to play. You know, so they would make
when you
rule.
were Camel, they didn't really bust your hump on the on that, but you had to choose.
In the beginning, I was there as a disc jockey, and I slowly matriculated the thing over into a talk show, but not so much that I couldn't do it until I went to the Quake.
Yeah.
All right, and then when I went there, the management were still trying to see how many records they could get me to play. I remember once I did something amazing. This was when I was at KITS, and they would say, we want you to play a certain amount of records an hour, just, you know, get some music in because we're a music station. And I'm going, look, if I play 2 records an hour, that's not going to keep the music people happy.
Right.
So one morning I said, for the next hour, I'm going to play more music than any radio station in town. And I took every song I could find that was 45 seconds or less. And there are quite a few of them that you can find. They're quickies on albums that people did. You know, the Beatles did. The Queen's a Very Good Hot Girl, or whatever that thing is at the end of Abbey Road. And I played in an hour 35 records. Literally 35 songs.
Oh.
And then from then on said, this is your most music morning show. And kept calling it that for the rest of the history of the show, your most music morning show. Because I did play more music than anybody. Oh, that was...
Really wanted to know what year that was.
God, it was in... I would say it was maybe 86, 87, somewhere around in there that I did this little stunt. And and also I had one boss when I was at the Quake, that somebody took over the radio station and they said, we want you to play more music. So I said, okay, I'll play more music. And what I did is, we were in stereo. So I did a talk show on the left channel and played music on the right channel.
Love it.
And then they really got mad at me because they said people who don't have stereo are going crazy because they were hearing music and the talk going on. But I literally isolated the music signal from my signal, and so everything on the right channel was music and everything on the left channel was me doing just a regular show.
Tell you what I did here. Station that I was at got sold to Disney, and they went to the Disney, kids format.
Right.
And the guy that had been the program director of the old station and one of the owners wound up at another station. And he and I worked together off and on for 15 years, but we never really liked each other because I was one of them old nasty liberals. And so I wound up in another station that wanted to go up against these guys. And the guy I'm talking about, he's dead now. He was enamored of WABC, being an East Coast kid.
Yeah.
And he started doing this thing where, first to 15 records in a row or something like that kind of bullshit.
Right.
And so I'm programming a competitor, and I started running a liner that said, not just counting the music, but playing the music that counts. And it drove him fucking nuts. We use that in just about every break. Not just counting the music.
You know what? This is something that most people don't realize. What months is advertising the lightest?
January, February.
That's when, if you listen to these radio stations, they say, we're going to do another 45-minute music suite. And the reason they do it is because they have no commercials to run.
Exactly.
And so they take it to their advantage. But no, and people don't realize this. January, you couldn't sell, I mean, I guess you could sell time to, some people, but it's very cheap, and nobody wants to buy. They've already used up all their budget at Christmas time.
My wife worked at the #1 station in this market in the business office. This is before she decided 2 people in the broadcast business makes no sense.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to have a job. And the guy who you probably know, who was the operations manager of this station, who was part of the McClendon Road Show, guy named Ron Chapman, who auditioned for a while to replace Paul Harvey. He once told his staff, the music is unimportant. It's only glue to get us to the next set of commercials. First time somebody actually came out and said that to an air staff. Just said it up front.
I thought the commercials were just glue to get us to the music.
Well, he looked at it the other way, and in his afternoon, Jock was a good friend of mine.
Yeah, well, enough. I don't want to get into radio stories.
Yeah,
it's so boring.
We could tell radio stories all night and not amount to hill beans.
Bree.
Yes, Bree.
But it's all advertising. I mean, even the songs are an ad, to sell the songs. So.
Well, I argued that for the longest time, that I believed in payola. And the reason I believed in it is, why shouldn't these record companies pay to get their records played? Because after all, you play their records, and that's how they're going to sell. And if you don't play them, they're not going to sell.
Alex, you must have some good payola stories. I've got a few.
Yeah, okay.
When in the late 80s, I ran a station in Pittsburgh, and it was a new modern rock type of a thing, late 80s, early 90s. And the record labels, oftentimes, they take you out to lunch or whatever, and I wasn't paying my staff very much, so my music director got an invitation to go to D.C. to see the B-52s and go backstage. And I let him take that because, normally I would figure we're going to play them anyway. That's a band that clearly we're going to play. But then they also have like 10 other bands that they want to get you to play.
Right.
They'll take you out to lunch, they'll take you to dinner. So I went to New York City. I bought my first car and I drove. I didn't have enough money for a hotel. So the first night I stayed in a parking lot in Newark, New Jersey, in a mall, and I slept in the trunk. You could put the back seat down. This is how I'm thinking. So I get there the next day, and they hear I go to Atlantic Records, and they hear the story, and they're like laughing all around. Like the word is spreading. There's this program director from Pittsburgh who slept in his trunk in Newark, New Jersey, and he's alive to tell the tale. And so they.
How did they hear about that?
Well, I told him what my trip up there, that I, had driven up there, and I didn't have really money for the motel. So I just stayed in the car. I had money for gas. Anyway, he took out these big boxes of CDs. He gave me 2 of them, and he said, you're going to go down to the Iroquois Hotel, put these on the front desk, and they're going to give you a room. So I did that. I took the 2 boxes of CDs, and I put them on the desk, and they gave me a room key. And then I get a call in the room, and they're like, come down to, you're going to watch Adrian Belew at the Bottom Line or something like that. And I go down there and I have a great time, and they're paying for everything.
Yeah.
I get back to my room and there's a woman in my room. She's laying in the bed, and I'm thinking, what's going on? Did they give you the wrong room number? Because I never gave them ID or anything, So I'm thinking they rented out my room. The CD thing doesn't work, Maybe it was just for an hour
what a
or
naive child you were.
Innocent babe in the woods.
Yes. So I ended up sleeping on the floor, and this woman slept in the bed because I had no idea why she was there. I'm serious. Like, it occurred to me, like halfway through the evening, I'm like, okay, I think this isn't a mistake. They probably planned this. But I can't do that because then I'm gonna have to like play all their records for the next year for like with I'll be totally on the hook.
Now,
so
what
I
year
didn't.
was this?
Would have been 89 or wait, let me think. 90.
The B-52s
yeah, like
were
89,
around.
90. They were still around. They were on the tail end. Adrian Belew had just come out. I know because that's what I was there to see. And I went to see another band at the Cat Club called something Mondays. And anyway, the opening act was Matthew Sweet. That's who I really wanted to see. I think he's a great artist. But then the Mondays was the one they wanted me to see. So it was around that time, like when those artists. And I think, Alex, you were at Live 105, or it was a year or two after that.
Yeah.
And
there was always trade outs. Like at Camel, the program director had a Ferrari that was a trade out from Matthew's Top of the Hill Daly City. Do you remember that? The red Ferrari?
No.
Oh. What was his name? Rick or something?
Well, all I know is that when I worked in Houston, payola went a little something like this. The promotion guy came in from out of town with a hooker.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty much what the promotion was all about, right?
Now, when I
knew one promotion guy who actually gave out tickets, and you would go to the hotel room and give the hooker the ticket.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Do you really?
I never took one of the tickets.
No,
because I figured anybody that would sleep with a disc jockey was too low class for me.
Me neither.
Now, was Payola was already out when Lenny was doing promotions for A&M? Because he was promoting people like Sergio Mendes and...
there's a lot of Payola at that time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Payola never really went away until the radio stations got into Payola like they are today, where the record labels actually buy the time to play their records on many stations that play contemporary music. When I got started in 1963, and being a black guy, I wound up at a black station, and while I was like 15, 16 years old, so I didn't even understand how to spell payola. I knew guys who, if they didn't take the money, their families would not eat because the salaries were so low.
Well, it's kind of like the reason that they threw the 1919 World Series was because the owner of the team was so cheap he didn't give him enough money. In fact, he gave him rotten champagne when they won a game once, And finally, they just said, "Hell with it! We'll take the money from the gamblers and throw the game." And that's what happened in the 1919 World. Was it 1919? I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
Was that Shoeless Joe Jackson thing?
Yeah.
Shoeless Joe.
Yeah.
Picture.
Yeah.
The guy that was the overnight guy at the station that I was at in Houston when you and I hooked back up after losing track of each other for years.
Mm-hmm.
He made a quick $75 a week. He had to drive a cab during the day to pay his mortgage.
Wow.
And they were paying me $175 because I was this slick young kid from the West Coast.
Listen, in one particular case, I made a song a hit. In fact, I'll tell you what it was. It was B.J. Thomas's "I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry."
Mm-hmm. Good song.
And I was credited with making it a hit. And the guy who was the head of it was his manager, Huey Moe. You may have known of Huey Moe, the crazy Cajun. They offered me, what would you like, a refrigerator? How about a new suit? How would you like this? How would you like that? And I turned it all down. And I said, I played the record because I liked it. I said, the fact that it became a hit because I played it, I'm happy to do that for you, but I don't want to get paid for it, And I never took a penny for playing anything.
Well, that's what Alan Freed said.
Well, yeah, but I'm no Alan Freed. No, Alan Freed took payola, and I think he'd be willing to admit that he did, but it was before anybody said it was illegal.
Yeah, it didn't become an issue till 57,
What was
58.
one day they decided, oh, let's go after these disc jockeys, and let's find something that we can get them on. How about a thing called commercial bribery? That was actually what they got them on. And when they got Alan Freed didn't know what he was doing was payola. He just got paid because he played records because he could get hits for people.
And the reason they went after disc jockeys, they didn't do it with the guys that were playing Sinatra and Nat Cole and Tony Bennett. They went after the guys playing rock and roll because there was the fact that heathen rock and roll was warping them young minds.
Yeah. He was playing all that Negra music.
That race music. Next thing you know, they'll be inflaming their passions, and they'll be in the back seats of cars, humping and bumping and yelling and screaming.
Yeah.
But
I remember once I said to somebody, I said, I refuse to take payola. And the guy looked at me and said, you'd never be offered it. You can't make a hit. And but then the day came when I could, and believe me, people were throwing money at me, and I turned it all down.
Well, I never told you how I wound up with James Brown back in '67.
How'd you wind up with James Brown?
Because James was notorious about passing out money. And I had never seen a James Brown show, and James would invite all the disc jockeys from whatever station played his music, particularly the black stations, because he hadn't crossed over yet.
Yeah.
And he'd hold court backstage after the show. And his road manager would come along and start passing out $50 and $100 bills, depending upon your air shift and whether or not you selected music. So they get to me, and I said, hey, I'm just glad I saw the show, and left. A couple of months later, the guy that wound up being the head of James Brown Broadcasting, who had been a salesman there in Houston at the station that I was at, calls me up on the hotline and says, how'd you like to come to work for James Brown Broadcasting as National PD? I'm 22 years old, 23 years old.
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to be National PD of a group of stations. So I took the gig. And I found out later, he said, the fact that you turned down James's money, he liked. He figured he could trust you.
Yeah.
Now, granted, he never trusted me ever again.
Yeah. That must have been a hellish gig.
Oh man, I tell you.
Well, let's not even get into it. But
put it this way, it was brutal. It took me years to get over that.
Yeah.
Years.
Yeah. But anyway, so enough of about payola, folks. The hardest kind of payola for me to turn down was when there was sex involved. You
didn't have groupies throwing themselves at you at the radio stations? Don't worry, neither did I.
Well, I didn't really until I wound up, be honest with you, until I wound up back in San Francisco.
Oh, well, of course.
Yeah, that was the gig where I had a lot of women throwing themselves at me. I had them early on. The first trip I had, the gig I had in Houston. It would happen there. But New York a little bit.
I have a friend who's in Houston now.
Yeah.
Yeah, he works for the Clear Channel groups there.
Well, Clear Channel doesn't exist anymore.
It's now iHeart.
Right,
Well, iHeart Radio.
Or
iHeart Media.
Yeah. It went from Clear Channel to Cheap Channel, as we called it at one time.
Yeah. So anyway, let's get back to the stories du jour So did you get to see the Sacha Baron Cohen show?
Yeah.
On Showtime?
I started watching it. It was awful.
Oh, it wasn't awful.
What a piece of shit.
It wasn't a piece of shit at all. In fact, my wife was peeing her pants. It was so funny. When that whole thing he did with the art dealer was hilarious.
Oh yeah, where she gave him the pubic hair.
Yeah.
I think she was in on it.
Don't spoil it for me. I got it on the machine, and I haven't watched it yet.
And you just don't like it because of the gun thing. The gun part of it was just.
Oh, you mean the Israeli commando guy?
Yeah.
That was one of the better ones. You know.
Now, would it have been funny if he had have been pranking lefties?
He was prank. He pranked Bernie. Wait a minute. He pranked Bernie Sanders on the show.
Yeah, yeah, he did.
Equal opportunity.
And Bernie Sanders never picked up on the fact that this guy is a moron, and and he should have walked out of there. The other thing was when he pranked those people in like North Carolina or something.
They had him over to dinner.
Yeah, I don't know. It looked like it was all staged.
The best line on the show is when I won't ruin the rest of it for you, Jack. When he talks about the fact that his wife had sex, he was cuckolded by a dolphin.
Yeah.
and he said after that we only started living in landlocked states.
Oh, that's funny.
But then he had to spend 3 months a year in Maui.
In Maui, yeah, right.
I mean, I can't imagine how people didn't pick up on how stupid this was. I would have thrown if he was interviewing me in any of those situations.
Because you don't know, Phil, you don't know the setup and how they set it up. You don't know what they were saying that they were doing. Like for instance, they had at the end they have people like Trent Lott and so on.
I didn't make it all the way through.
Doing PSAs for arming children with guns.
Was it Trent Lott or
no,
it was
Trent Lott, and there was also another person. I'm trying to remember what his name is now, but he talked about it. He addressed the situation.
Oh yeah, 4-year-olds, teaching them how to shoot, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. No, we arm children instead of teachers.
Oh yeah, that was cute.
Yeah, but I mean, I think the show was brilliant. I think it was. I was amazed at how funny it was, and how good it was. And as I'm saying, you don't know, you weren't there for the setup and how they approached these people to be on. Yeah. Okay, they were all reading scripts, for instance, when they were doing these commercials about the guns, and undoubtedly they were approached on a certain level by the production people. I thought the best part is what I heard. They haven't had the Sarah Palin thing on yet, but supposedly she got up and left, so they took her to the wrong airport so she'd miss her plane.
She was the only smart one in the crowd then, because everybody else should have gotten up and walked out on the guy.
Well, you got to realize he's been doing this for years. Borat was that way, and he had to stop doing it because too many people could see him coming.
Yeah.
So he laid off for about, I don't know, maybe 10 years, and now he's back again.
It's kind of like, remember the old show, not People Are Funny, but...
Candid Camera?
Candid Camera.
Nah, it isn't
Alan
like
Fun.
That. It isn't like that. This is more...
It's not like that, but it's kind of like that. And the trick was in the setup.
Well,
what's ingenious? Not really, because he does. I like that he does characters, like Alex said. He doesn't really put himself out there a lot, so you don't really see him as much.
His characters are good.
He makes it believable.
So far, Phil, you haven't said anything terrible about the show, and yet you said you didn't like it.
There was another show called Punked that what's his name used to do.
Alex, he's supposed to play. He's supposed to play like the lead singer from Queen, I think, Sasha, but he backed out of the movie. Freddie Mercury, I think.
Yeah, I can't remember who's playing him now.
I don't know. I think the guy from that show you watch is playing him. I forgot the name of it. That computer hacker guy. I forgot. I saw the cover attraction.
Right. Anyway,
yeah. Sorry.
So Phil, I mean, we didn't actually hear from Jack about his feelings about our dear president and his traitorous actions this weekend.
Well, I think your New York paper summed it up as far as I'm concerned. Finally, somebody came out and said it straight up like it should be said.
What did they say?
Open treason.
Bullshit.
Was that headline? Open treason?
Yeah, open treason. Or out. Let's see. I got my notes here. You know, I know you don't like the fact that I.
You said, Alex, it was treason, like you said.
Yeah, said it was treason.
For him to say that he believed Putin and didn't believe the FBI and his advisors is not treason.
And Alex, remember when the Republicans were saying, Obama's a communist? And who's the guy that's hanging out with the communists?
You know, you're trying to disparage him because he's dealing with an enemy of the world, and he's trying to turn this enemy into
because he's so fuzzy and nice that he'll be able to do it.
Well, you don't do it by telling the guy that he's a lying prick. You know,
I just want to know. I just want to know how much money did they give him, and how can I get a cut of it?
In sales, sometimes you got to bury the objection.
This isn't sales, Phil. This isn't.
It is sales.
This is international dealings. This has This is not. He's not selling fucking real estate.
It's the same thing. He's looking for peace in the world. You don't see what this guy's trying to do.
How is that the same thing as building a half-baked building in New York City?
Phil, I'll ask you this. What does Putin want? If Trump is looking for world peace, what does Putin want?
Well, obviously he wants some recognition in the world arena.
Oh, yes, he doesn't have enough. Do you know he's the richest man on the planet?
Probably. I thought Jeff Bezos was.
No, they aren't able to trace Putin's money, but he's supposedly worth considerably more than Jeff Bezos, who, by the way, $150 billion.
Yeah, he passed it today.
Yeah.
That must have been one Amazon day that they had.
Hey, I went to Whole Foods before the show because I had to buy flowers and a card, and Whole Foods was open, and the guy says to me, "Are you a Prime member?" And I said, "Yeah." You know, I said, "Look, I got Prime Video on the phone." He says, "No. Open up your Prime app. You hit something with a QR." And he put it up to a reader, and I got $10 in my Amazon account and some sort of discount on my purchase.
I bought a new Echo.
Oh, you got the Echo? You had it on.
I got the show because it was $100 off.
That's nice. Yeah, they have good deals. That works for cartoons.
Yeah.
Well, they say that they're putting all these listening devices in your homes, and you're paying for it, so that Amazon can listen to your private conversations.
No, that's right.
Figure out what to sell you.
I thought it was so delicious.
I like this guy.
Bezos is going to take over the world.
What were you saying?
Do you really believe what you say?
Jack, what were you saying?
I thought it was Putin that was listening to him.
Well, maybe Putin is paying Bezos.
I don't know about that.
No, Bezos doesn't need the money. If he's behind Putin in money, he doesn't really need the money.
From what I understand, Amazon really hasn't turned a profit, and all of this money he's got is based on his stock value, which is based on what they think the company is worth.
No, the company hasn't turned a profit because it takes all its profits and puts it back into the company. We're living in a day and age where you don't have to make a profit to be profitable. I know that sounds weird and it sounds off-putting, but it's true.
Well, you should tell it to my banker because they say I take all the money that comes in and I spend it on myself. So.
Yeah, well, you're not Amazon, but Amazon I think has been making a profit in the last couple of years.
Yeah, a little bit.
There was a time when they weren't.
Right, a long time.
There was a time when they believed that he would never see a profit, but believe me, that I got to tell you, when you have an organization that's so big that it literally puts certain businesses out of business.
50% of internet sales are going to be tied to Amazon.
Yeah, and more than that, I'm telling you right now, you go to your mall. There aren't stores there anymore. They're going empty now because people are buying everything online.
You want to laugh, Alex? About 3 blocks away, there's a Walmart by me going out of business.
Hell, I mean, I'm of the thinking if I need a bottle of aspirin, I go to Amazon and order it.
You'll have it tomorrow.
Blockbuster's down to 1 store.
I know, in
someplace in Oregon.
Oregon, yeah.
Yeah. And
they closed down. They closed down the 2 in Alaska, and one of the ones in Alaska was where John Oliver sent them souvenirs of I think it was Mel Gibson's career or something, and sent them a whole bunch of stuff, and they had it in there, and they got they closed down, and the only one left is in Oregon,
right?
And they're only open as a Blockbuster because they pay Blockbuster a certain amount of money to be able to have the name on the door,
Oh, kind of like Trump.
But, I mean, why would anybody go to Blockbuster? What's the reason?
Well, you want a specific movie, you can't find it on...
Yeah, you can rent it off, you just rent it, pull it up on your cable.
That's true.
But it's not just Blockbusters. My wife has not been in a grocery store in 6 months. She orders all of her food online. It gets delivered to the house. The Good Eating Fairy puts it in the refrigerator for her. Occasionally, she will send me out into the cold, dank world to pick up something that she forgot. Like she wanted some mushrooms for this evening. So I had to trudge to the store as a good husband and bring her back her mushrooms. And she says, why should I go out in the damn hot Texas sun to get something from the store when this young guy will bring it to the house and put it in the refrigerator for me?
I made for dinner my newest dish, which is I take some thinly sliced chicken breasts, flour them, throw them in butter. They cook up in no time flat. I mean, they cook fast, really fast. Turn them over, put some mushrooms in there, let them bake with some Marsala wine.
You like chicken marsala?
And I made chicken marsala with mushrooms, and I served it to her, and she had to actually admit for the first time that I fed her, gee, this is really good.
It sounds good, yeah.
Because usually you're putting arsenic in it.
And you know something? I made it in takes 10 minutes. It's like the fastest dish I can make.
Yeah.
You could probably even put that on pasta too, Alex, right?
Yeah, you could put it on a bed of pasta. Sure. Absolutely. I was almost going to do that. No, I don't know how to boil water. So
no, you don't. You shouldn't eat pasta if you're on a low carb diet.
Yeah, but I take a handful. It's not
or you can eat whole wheat pasta.
You know what I found? I had a bowl. I found out I had a bowl of cherries and a bowl of strawberries, and I've been eating cherries and the strawberries, and then I come to find out. You know which one has the most carbs?
Strawberries.
No, berries have the least. Cherries.
Holy, you would think because they're so small.
Yeah, so if strawberries, you can eat a lot of strawberries and still not and take in a lot of carbs.
Yeah, blueberries, same thing. Raspberries.
Yeah.
Blackberries. Yeah.
You said you used butter. Did you use real butter?
Absolutely.
Yeah. After I had my heart surgery, I asked my doctor about that. She says, between the difference between fake butter and real butter, use the real butter because it tastes better and it's actually lower in some kind of fat, maybe
Saturated fats, probably.
Yeah. Jeff probably knows about that. You know, I said,
hey, my chest hurt on Saturday, and
well, that's because you had a heart.
Yeah, and I called the advice nurse, and the advice nurse said, take a nitroglycerin and come into the ER.
Yeah.
So I went into the ER. I was there like 6 hours.
Yeah.
They took an X-ray, EKG, blood to see if I had a heart attack. There's a enzyme that it gives off, and I didn't. So they put me on a pill that like releases nitroglycerin over a 24-hour period, and it's helped.
Good idea.
What I thought you took the nitroglycerin if you were having a heart attack. I didn't realize you took it if you felt tightness in your chest, that it opens up the arteries.
Right.
And
right. So when are you going to have the operation?
August 15th.
August 15th. Oh, okay, so we got a way to go.
Can we take bets?
I might drop dead before then. You know, you got a month.
God, it is hotter than hell in here, and my air conditioner is on.
Yeah.
And I'm sweating like a pig.
This room too.
Yeah.
And you said you didn't want to be associated with pigs because people would always try to offer you pork.
Let me take this off.
He was talking about cops.
What?
He said you didn't want to be associated with pigs. I said he was talking about cops.
Yeah, right.
Well, complain all you want to about how hot it is there in the Big Apple.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you what it is here.
We're up in Texas.
It is almost 11 o'clock here, right? And it is 92 degrees with 60% humidity.
Hey, other than the weather, Jeff's got a guy running for governor in his state that's a convicted
Siri, what's the temperature?
felon. There's 2 Democrats on the ticket, and one of them, his name is something like Halen or Galen, or he was convicted for misuse of funds or misappropriation of government funds, and he's running for governor in Connecticut. Are you familiar with him? He's raised $800,000, but he hasn't run any commercials yet because it seems as though he's not eligible for public money because he's a convicted felon.
Well, the good thing about a guy like that, you know what kind of person you're getting.
Yeah.
Somebody actually ran for the governor of Louisiana on the ticket, vote for the convicted felon, because you know what kind of guy you're getting.
Lightning doesn't strike twice.
I'm wondering why it's so hot in here. It's only 73 degrees tonight, but it could be a lot of humidity.
Yeah, let me check.
You know, when you get to be our age, that thermostat in your body doesn't work as well as it used to.
No, I'm going to go out and get a new
air conditioner.
Yeah, my guy, my super said I could probably do an 8,000 BTU and not blow anything. So
you got a 50% chance of rain.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to make it humid.
Oh yeah, well, the humidity preceding it. Yeah, this is really strange because I should have enough air coming through here. I go over there and it's coming through.
In Walnut Creek, it's 78.
Really? So it's hotter there than it is in New York right now.
Oh.
We were up around 90 the other day, right?
Yeah.
Oh, today I went to work out. It's it's fine, And I'm walking down, and as I'm going into the gym, I hear thunder. I then go in, I work out, I do about a half hour on the bicycle, and then I do some stuff on the implements of torture, and then I go back out on the street, and it is a fucking tropical thundercloud.
Yeah, it looked like a Wizard of Oz, but it was windy.
And now I'm walking in this, and I'm just getting fucking. By the time I got home, I had to put all my clothes in the dryer.
Does your gym have air conditioning?
Yeah, no.
$15 a month. You know, they got a couple of guys with fans that go like this.
Yeah, I'll tell you what you get for $15 a month, though. Come on in.
Yeah.
Really, that's basically what you get for $15 a month. I noticed that they had a towel machine where you could rent towels.
Oh, wow.
You know, but you have to pay in advance. And I said, how much to rent towels? And they said $10 a month. And I'm thinking, that's about 2/3 of what I'm paying for the membership.
I bring my towel.
You know, what if I don't want the membership but I want the towels? Can I do that?
You should be able to keep
They make more money on that.
But no, they want, you know, there isn't anything I'm sure they don't charge for. We just lost Jack because he has to
he's
do
got
a
to
show.
do his thing.
You got to go do a show. But it was just amazing how much it's costing me. So, you know, I mean, but I refuse to buy the towels. I bring my own towel because quite
I thought you bought a towel from those guys for $5.
Well, I bought a couple of towels, but now I own the towels, right? So
maybe they were rental towels and you thought you bought them.
Maybe they were selling me the rental towels. Yeah. Anyway, so no, but I mean, I'm paying $15 a month, and that's what it's supposed to cost me, and that's what I'm gonna take. You know, I can go in there and use the whole gym and everything. $15 a month, and now that I'm going like 4 days a week, they're losing fucking money.
They don't.
No,
guys
they
like
count on making $15 off a lot of people who never show up.
Well, what's it cost them if you use the machine?
Most of the business makes money by people who don't show up.
Right. If everybody who had a membership to these what do you call it? These gyms showed up, they wouldn't be able to accommodate them all. You know.
Well, I used to belong to a gym when I lived in the Oakland Hills. I would go by a place in Lafayette, and this place was so nice. It was like a country club. They would have events, and they would have all sorts of things. They would promote it so you'd want to go. But it was $175 a month for an individual, and when I had the family membership, it was like over $350 a month.
Oh, my wife pays $2,000 a year for the gym she goes to, and I'm saying, hey, you can come to mine, and you know it's only.
I know, but these gyms that cost that kind of money, they're fun to go to. They have everything they do is nice. It's first class.
Yeah, well, mine's fine. You know, they've got a bathroom.
Well, see you Wednesday. Hopefully, I'll have a microphone working.
You'll see me Wednesday. Tomorrow's Wednesday.
Oh no, Thursday.
Thursday. Hopefully, you'll have a microphone working. How many? What are the odds on this, Scott? As to whether his microphone will be working.
I'm going to call the company. They have great customer service. I'm going to call them. Not tomorrow morning. I have something to do, but Thursday morning, and they'll get me up and running.
Oh, I'm sure they will. They will.
He's on the phone.
He'll figure it out.
Yeah.
He'll get Trump to help him.
Yeah. You're right. Anyway, thank you all. I appreciate your participation in the show, and it's cooler now that I took my shirt off. Thanks, everybody. Wave goodbye. Say goodbye to those folks. Been a nice night tonight. Always nice having you here. Bye. Okay, that's our citizen panel for tonight, folks. Jack Bishop is next over most of this same GabNet. And then at 1 o'clock in the morning, it's Connections or Conniptions coming out of Florida. That's at 1 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. Tomorrow night, starting at 8:30, we have our sports show, our once-a-week sports show, The Arena, with the franchise MC. That's at 8:30 Eastern Daylight Time. At 9:30 Eastern Daylight Time, yes, it's Damian Chaplin and The Exchange. And then I will see you back again here tomorrow night, 10 o'clock, same station, same time, same station in life. In the meantime, if you see her, tell her I love her, okay? Bye, everybody.